This basic series, I've loved it. I've really enjoyed it, and so today we're just going to talk about foundation. And in the Bible, in the very beginning with Adam, as far as we see that him and God had a relationship, as far as a foundation, a relationship foundation, as far as with communicating. And then when Adam and Eve got the eviction notice to head out, what way they go? They went east. And when Cain killed Abel, when Cain left, Cain went east. And then when Lot and Abram separated, Lot chose east. And so basically we saw how mankind, as far as kept traveling away from the garden, away from the first presence of God, as far as it within a relationship sense. And so we saw how mankind kept getting further and further, heading the opposite direction, and kept making worse and worse, more mistakes and worse decisions. That was until Abram decided, when he got the call, he goes, no, I'm not heading east, I'm heading west. So he went back towards the garden. Not away from it, he went back towards it. And so we're going to focus today on relationships as far as in a foundation with God. In Hebrews chapter 13:8, it says, Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. That's consistency, y'all. That's consistency. And that's why it's so important as far as in our homes, in our marriages, we have to be consistent. We have to be consistent. As far as even with your kids, they should not come up to you on a Sunday morning and say, Mom, Dad, are we going to church today? You know, as far as it needs to be consistent, as far as like every single day, this is what we're doing. You know, being consistent in our time, being consistent in our giving, being consistent in our marriage, being consistent as far as making sure that we have time for our kids and investing into our kids, being consistent in developing the young people here at Oasis, you know, being consistent in mentoring other people here and discipling other people is consistency. So if we're supposed to model our life after Christ, and He's the same yesterday, today, and forever, we should be the same yesterday, today, and forever as in our consistency with Him. Not consistent with the mistakes, but the consistency as far as in going after Him. And so when we talk about foundations has three main points. The foundation, as far as it holds the weight of the structure, it has the whole weight of the building. The foundation also goes down and it keeps the building secure. So when the wind blows, it's going to keep it tight and secure. And then it also separates, it isolates from the ground. So if there's frosts or thaws or whatever, it keeps it isolated. And so we all have these dreams. We have these big dreams and we want to build these big lives and have these big careers and all this kind of stuff. But it takes a very strong foundation in order to have a big life. And so sometimes we have a foundation that can barely hold up Cheryl's she shed, and we want to have a giant skyscraper life. And then we wonder why things fall down and collapse. It's because we're building our foundation on hope of a better tomorrow. We're building our foundation on our jobs. We're building our foundation on our finances. We're building our marriage is our foundation in life. And all of a sudden, when things begin to shake, we wonder why things implode around us. It's because it's the wrong foundation. So today we're just going to do a foundation check, and I love Bartimaeus and his story, and he's going to help us kind of examine our foundation this morning in Mark chapter 10, verse number 46. And it says, and they came to Jericho, and as he was leaving Jericho with his disciples, a great crowd, Bartimaeus, a blind beggar, the son of Timaeus, was sitting by the roadside. Now, Timaeus was an important figure, so much important, the fact that the author decided to include him a part of the story. He could have just said this blind man was sitting there. But instead, he included Timaeus, and the reason why is Timaeus in Greek simply means highly prized. Now, when you take Bartimaeus, the bar part of it, not to get all geeky on you, but the bar part of it is the son of. So when it says Bartimaeus, it's the son of highly prized. That's his name, son of the highly prized. But here he is as a blind beggar sitting on the side of the road. Can you say disappointment? Here he is as a name of the son of the highly prized, but yet he's sitting on the side of the road begging for scraps, begging for food. And so we all had disappointment where we thought life was going to go one way, but yet we're going this way instead. We've all dealt with disappointments. We've all dealt with failures. We've all dealt with setbacks. We've all dealt with all this stuff. But if we try to find value in who we want to be, all of a sudden our whole foundation is going to be based on a facade. Because if we strive to get a promotion, because if we think that title is going to make us somebody, all of a sudden we're building our foundation on something that can be taken away in a second. We have people that are striving to try and get this promotion so they can have this title on their business card. But what happens after the next recession and there's downsizing? And they have to take that title away. How solid are you then? And so it's a disappointment because if it's almost like we get in this rut. If I can only do this, I'll be somebody. If I can only get that job, I'll be somebody. If I can only do this, I'll finally be somebody. But what happens if you finally get the job you've always wanted, then you hate it? So it's our foundation. Our foundation cannot be in our careers. Our foundation cannot be in our resources. Our foundation has to be in Jesus. In verse 47, and when he heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to cry out and say, Jesus, son of David, have mercy on me. The key word is heard because he didn't see Jesus coming. He's blind, y'all. He used what he had. So we get in trouble when we spend all of our time trying to use something that we don't have, that we completely ignore something that we do have. So we will completely abandon a strength of our own because we spend so much time trying to develop something that God has not given us. But yeah, if he said, if you would just spend time with what I've given you, then maybe that can transfer and helping you discover this other part of you that you're not ready for just yet. And so we have to make sure that we use what we have and not abandon what we think, oh, if I could just see him. If I could just see him. No, bro, if you can hear him. Because he heard him walking down. He heard him. And so he was using what he had. And so it gives us this idea that if we simply get so caught up in using what we don't have, we're going to forget about it. And Jesus wasn't there simply to stay, but he was passing by. This is a transition. Don't miss this. This is a transition. Jesus was passing through here to Jerusalem. It was never in his itinerary to stay here for any duration. He was passing through. So now you have a blind man with a very small window of opportunity. And he took advantage of that very small window of opportunity. And so we can make sure that our 2020 is different than our 2019 or 18 or 17. And the reason why is that we still have a very large opportunity for this year. Now, we've maybe only used up 8% of this year so far. That means we have 92% of this year left. Which means that we can do things different this year that maybe we haven't done before to maybe get different results this year. Because if we always do what we've always done, we're going to get what we've always got. So if you complain about how 16 and 17 and 18 and 19 worked out, I bet you're doing the same thing in 20. So if we maybe take a step back and look at our foundation and say maybe our approach in 20 is going to be a little bit different, we're going to change our foundation. Our foundation is not going to be on our marriage. Our foundation is not going to be on our jobs. Our foundation is not going to be on our bank account. Our foundation is not going to be on our kids. Our foundation is simply going to be basically Jesus. And watch what happens. Watch what happens. Watch the change that will begin to happen in your life. In verse number 48, it says, and many rebuked him, telling him to be silent, but he cried out all the more, Son of David, have mercy on me. This is very personal for me. This is very, very, very personal for me. It's because I have had many moments in my life where there was something that was huge that I thought was going to happen. Then all of a sudden I met with opposition. Basically simply this. Anytime you try to take a step in the right direction, you're always going to encounter discouragement. Always. Always. There's never been a time as far as where I was going to make the step in the right direction and I was met with high fives. You know, when Nita and I went and we were telling everybody that we're moving from Michigan, you know, there was never a parade that was thrown for us. They didn't celebrate us. They didn't give us high fives and say, that's so awesome. You know what we got? We got a whole lot of discouragement. You know what I heard? You guys are making a mistake. When we sat down and we're talking to our leaders and we're going to resign, or they're begging with us and saying, no, don't do this. Are you guys sure? Are you guys positive? You know, we're talking with family. They're trying to talk us out of it. There's very few people that were excited and said, we know that this is God. It was nothing but discouragement. That was a gut check for me. So when we met with all this discouragement, it took me back to this. I love reading. I have just books. I always just buy books. If a book's on sale, I'll buy it. I may not read it, but I'm going to buy it. I just love books. I love books. And there's a poet that once wrote that, you know, that haters are going to hate. And that players are going to play. And you just got to shake him off. Some poet wrote that a while back ago. And so we have to get to the point in our lives where we have to make sure that our desire for more, that our desire for change, that our desire for him, our desire for his presence overrides the discouragement. So Bartimaeus is saying, you can yell at me all you want, but I'm going to cry out all the more because my desire is louder than your words of discouragement. Oh, come on, somebody. So he cried out all the more. And I remember in my life, as far as earlier in my career, I was told there was a job offer that was given to me. I had 2 job offers. One was a really high position that I was even shocked they even, 1, interview me. And then 2, they gave me the job, like a job offer. I'm like, you all insane. Like, are you sure you got the right Jeremy Tyner? You right the right email address, right? I mean, you must have been confused. But I was shocked. But I got this job offer, and then the same day I got another job offer, but it was a lower position. It was kind of out in a different field and different industry. And when I was seeking advice and counsels for what job I should take, they told me to take the lower job because the bigger job's over my head. That's a great vote of confidence. Thank you for that. And so, but since then, I've received several promotions and bonuses. And so I let the distractions and discouragement stay away. I was told that I would never, ever, ever, ever marry this good-looking girl from Michigan who I met in college, that there's no way that I'll ever marry her. She's going to marry some, big preacher and big evangelist, and that there's no way that we're ever going to be together and be married. But it was September 22nd, 2001 when that hot lady came down the aisle and we got married. We were told, because Nina got cancer when we first got married, and they were told that we're never going to have kids. So you'll never have kids. The doctors discouraged us. Don't even think about it. Don't plan it. It's not a possibility. It's not even an option. That's all we heard was discouragement. And then all of a sudden, when you start taking a step in the right direction and saying, but I think we're still going to be a mom and dad one day. We're still going to take a step and allow God to be God. We're still going to take that step and say the final report is in the doctor's hands, is in God's hands, not the doctor's hands. We're going to take that another step and keep praying and let God just be God. All of a sudden, it was November 14th, 2006 when I became a father and Nina became a mother for the first time. What I'm trying to say is that there's always going to be discouragement, but you have to make sure that your desire for God overrides discouragement, and it's a whole lot easier if he's your foundation. If he's your foundation, I wonder how many ministries are stuck in neutral right now because of so much discouragement. You have no reason or no business to be singing. You have no business to be teaching. You have no business to be involved in anything because of what you've done in your past. But you have to say, this is discouragement. I'm still going to take a step. God's not done with you just yet. There's so many ministries that's ready to take off. And discouragement has kept them bound and held captive. Think about, we could have the greatest Bible study teachers, the greatest singers. We could have future pastors sitting in pews, but yet they're going to stay sitting in pews because discouragement they've received from people. Be very careful what you say to people. Be very careful what you say to them. And I remember one person told me that I'm never going to finish my degree. I'm never going to get there. I'm never going to do that. But it was June 9, 2018 when I got my bachelor's in biblical theology and ministry. And I remember sitting there holding my diploma. And I'm sitting there just in tears, weeping, thinking about everyone, not the people that supported me, but I thought about all the haters. And to quote the great Toby Keith, I wish they could see me now. I wanted to. I'm like, oh, you want to take pictures of me so I can put it on Facebook? Everybody can take a look at it. Because these were the same people that almost cost me my degree. These are the same people that almost cost me everything. And you can say, they didn't cost you. No, here's the thing, though, is that if I put myself in a box and I shut the door in the closet and I say, okay, God, this is obviously what they have to say is more important what you're trying to do. Sometimes we spend more time focusing on word of man instead of the word of God. Sometimes we spend so much time trying to worry and get approval for what man says and try to get so much approval to do this right. We spend so much time trying to live by man's word, and God saying, I just want to love you. I just want you to love me. We can do this together. That's the difference in your foundation of man and God. Because when your foundation's in man, you're going to go after man's approval. But if your foundation's in God, you can care less about man's approval. You're going to go after God's. I got to hurry up. And so then in verse number 49, it says, and Jesus stopped and said, call him. And they called the blind man, saying to him, take heart. Or they encouraged him to get up. He's calling you. And throwing off his cloak, he sprang up and came to Jesus. This is why sometimes I have a hard time with people. This is reason 2,519 why you cannot build your foundation on people. Because the same people that basically told him to shut his mouth and mind his business, that discouraged him, are now the ones who are encouraging to get up. Here's the flip side though. If you can go from being a discourager to an encourager, the same must be true where you can go from an encourager to a discourager. That is why you have to be very, very careful as far as basing your foundation on the approval of man and basing your foundation on man in period, simply because of the fact that they may support you today, but will they support you tomorrow? Are they going to have your back come tomorrow? Are they going to agree with you that the decisions you make today based on what God is telling you to do lines up with theirs? Well, all of a sudden they're going to support you regardless of their opinion. And so he took off his cloak, which is to me is very, very awesome. So awesome. He takes off his cloak. He's not just throwing it off just because he's hot. You know, he's not Oprah like, you get a coat, you get a cloak, everybody gets a cloak. He's not slinging coats because he's bored. The cloak then was a representation. It was a beggar's uniform. They had special cloaks, and each cloak was basically, it was designed a certain way, colors, whatever, and it informed people what this person was, this is what he had. And so it was a uniform. He wore this. This was his identity. This was his security. Because by him wearing this cloak, not only did people identify who he was or what he had, but this is what got him food. This is what got him money. This was his paycheck. This was his security. Therefore, this was his foundation. It was his foundation. And then he hears Jesus is coming by, and he flings it off because he realizes that this is no foundation. The true foundation is passing by to Jerusalem, and I have a small window of opportunity to make sure that I have the right foundation in my life. So he flings it off, which I think is so cool because he's not going to find it. I'll feed you, baby birds. Just keep up with me. He flings it off. He's not going to find it because he can't see. Now you're with me. All right, gotcha. So he flings it off because he's not going to be able to find it. He can't see it, which simply means that whatever this was is no longer important to him, which simply means he wasn't going back to it. This was a dead end. This is no longer an option for him now. And so the only option he has is to get the right foundation in Christ in his life. And so he no longer needed this fake foundation. I wonder what would happen if everyone in this place all of a sudden began to throw off their fake foundations and say, I don't need this anymore. My true foundation is in the Word. My true foundation is in Jesus. I don't need this fake thing anymore. Man. And so he throws it off and he goes up there. He's running after Jesus. And when he gets there, he says to him, what do you want me to do for you? And the blind man said to him, Rabbi, let me recover my sight. He didn't ask for $1 million. He didn't ask, smite my enemies. Oh, mighty master. I tell you what, if I may have that condition, but if Jesus came up and asked me what I wanted, I'd probably think about it. I let people just like cross. I'm like, I would never do that. Oh no, you've already got a list written down in your Bible as far as who the first person that you're going to give a list to it's to Jesus. But he's sitting there, and there's a transition in verse 47. He goes, Son of David, and verse 48 is Son of David, and then verse 51 is Rabbi. Jesus, thou Son of David, Son of David. Now Rabbi. Actually, the real word is Rabboni, which is not Rabbi. It's not teacher, but it's master. It's elevated. It's elevated. And so he calls him this, which simply means that every time that you take a step and every time you get closer into the presence of Jesus, every time that you step closer, you're going to see him in a different way. You're going to see him. He went from a healer to a teacher to a master. And the reason why the revelation took place because every time that he would take a step and Bartimaeus, he's a healer. Nope, he's a teacher. Nope, he's my master. And the reason why is because he was getting so close and the change and the revelation took place in him, not from the curbside, but the revelation came the closer he got to him. So if you're questioning why I don't have that revelation of who he is, you have to just get up and start walking towards him. So he walked towards him. What's he going to do? He's like, Jesus, thou son of David, Rabboni. And he's saying, Master. Because if we can move past what we think we know about him, we'll be able to see him as he truly meant to be seen. He's not to be seen as a get out of jail free card. He's not to be seen as we're going to call upon him when we're sick. He's not just to be seen as, oh, we're in a financial pickle, we got to pray about it. He is to be seen as one that loves us like no other. He is to be seen as a friend that's closer than a brother. He is to be seen as not just our Lord and Savior, but we have to look at him. He wants us to view him as the deity that loves us more than anything, that desires to be with us more than anything. And once you start getting close to him, once you start getting close into that relationship, once you start building that, all of a sudden things begin to change. And Jesus said to him, go your way, your faith has made you well. And immediately he recovered his sight and followed him on the way. He simply said, go your way. Jesus is like, we're good, man. We're good. Go your way. But Bartimaeus said, no. Your way is my way. You see, I've lived on the side of the streets with a cloak that identified me as a beggar. But now I want to follow you on your way so I can be identified as a follower of you. He sits there now, sacrifices his way for God's way, but really it's not a sacrifice. It's not a sacrifice. Would anyone want your way over God's way? It's not a sacrifice. He did the only thing that he could do. After that close encounter with Jesus, after receiving that miracle, after his faith plus his revelation equaled his healing, after that whole encounter, do you honestly think that he could have gone his way? There you go. No. It didn't matter where Jesus went, he was going to follow. And that's where we have to be. We may not understand the why. We may not understand why God is leading this or why God's doing that, but we still follow. And the reason why is because he's our foundation. It's basic. Our foundation is not our jobs. Our foundation is not our career. Our foundation is not our promotions. Marriages, husband, wife, your foundation needs to be God, not your kids. One of the main reasons why moms and dad get divorced as they get older is because the kids are now out of the house. The foundation's been ripped out of the home. And now there's nothing left to stand on. But yet if Jesus, so basic, if he's our foundation, it doesn't matter what happens. We're good. We're good.